Hey y'all, if you're someone who leaks and has avoided exercise at all costs, then today's video is specifically for you. Today I'm going to be talking about something that most people overlook. It actually gets overlooked quite often, and that's walking. I know that's typically the thing we want to not do is not move if we experience leaks, but walking again is one of the most underrated tools that can really have great benefits to your pelvic floor. So in today's video, I'm going to show you why walking matters, why your activity level matters, and the 3 C's that you need to stop your leaks. So let's get into it. All right, so I want to start with just saying that walking has a multitude of benefits. It improves digestion, it improves circulation, it improves mental clarity. So you're going to get benefits to your pelvic floor, but you're also going to get benefits to multi-systems in your body. Specifically, as it relates to your pelvic floor, it helps improve circulation in your pelvis. It helps to activate and coordinate your pelvic floor muscles, and walking also helps to improve mobility in your hips and pelvis. So again, it's something that's quite underrated. You know, people, a lot of times when they start leaking, the first thing that they want to do is avoid any type of exercise or movement, because that can be when the leaks happen: squatting, jumping, any kind of activity that puts stress to those muscles. But when we avoid movement, we actually just keep our pelvic floor in a very weak and not coordinated way. And that's not what we want to do. We want to challenge those muscles, and walking helps you do that without that direct squeeze that you get from a Kegel, or that direct squeeze or activation that you get from some other very specific pelvic floor exercises. And so again, walking is something that can be incorporated pretty easily. You don't need a gym membership to do it. You really just need a place and intentional time to get it going. So walking again is something that is very beneficial to the pelvic floor, and it keeps those muscles active, because I like to say, when you're not using it, you're losing it. And so if we're not activating the pelvic floor and utilizing the pelvic floor in some very functional ways, like moving around the house, walking to our car, then those muscles will stay in a much weakened state, and then the leaks just never change. I also want to add that walking is more than just exercise. Walking is a tool. And so in my program, walking falls under the pillar of active recovery. So this is something that I work with my one-on-one clients. This is something that I never skip, because your pelvic floor works in so many different ways, but recovery is a really important part of just balancing the way that the pelvic floor and even your core muscles should all be working together. And so under the active recovery category, we have walking, you have breath work, the stretches you do before bed. All of those things kind of fall into that category to give those muscles time to rest and again recover. And so recovery is active because it's intentional. It's something that you are actively practicing to make sure that we get that downtime to the pelvic floor. And again, walking is just a great tool for that, because of the multitude of benefits, and because it keeps the pelvic floor coordinated. The pelvic floor has to work and has to engage in order for you to take every single step. And that brings me to the 3 C's that every woman needs to stop leaking. So we've talked about walking being part of active recovery, but walking also helps benefit your pelvic floor in these 3 C's as well. So the 3 C's are coordinated muscles. The second C is confidence. And then the third C is chronic stress management. So we'll start with the first one. So coordinated muscles. And I've mentioned before, the pelvic floor does more than just tighten. And so Kegels usually are what we think of when we think of the pelvic floor, but that is only one way that the pelvic floor is activated. The pelvic floor has a supportive function. It has a sphincteric function. It's supposed to open and close so we can pee and poop. And then those muscles should be at a resting, relaxed state. Like, those muscles are not supposed to be turned on all the time. So for my watchers or my viewers who are, constantly sucking in their belly or tightening those muscles all the time, that's not really good for your pelvic floor. And your pelvic floor is not supposed to, again, function in that way. We want the muscles to be coordinated, because typically if you leak with a cough, sneeze, or laugh, the muscles are not activating when they're supposed to. And if they're on all the time, then they're going to fatigue much quicker. And so walking, again, is a way, it's almost like a passive way to activate your pelvic floor without you having to do these sustained holds and squeezes and holding your breath, for dear life. We're not trying to create tension in the pelvic floor. We just want those muscles to be coordinated so that they react when we want them to. my kids play basketball. I'll just give you a quick story. My oldest son was shooting free throws last weekend, and so I was just watching him outside, and I actually had encouraged him to practice because usually during the games, sometimes a game could be determined by who misses or makes the free throws. So he and I had a conversation just about let's just practice. 10 free throws a day. Even something so small will just get you in rhythm and used to game time, the actual moments that you need to shoot the free throws. And so as I was watching him practice, I was like, the pelvic floor is no different. We have to practice how to utilize our pelvic floor, and active recovery is a part of that, because we don't practice and kind of retrain those muscles of what to do and when, then they're never really going to know when to activate accurately. And so that's where coordination comes in. Again, if you're leaking with a cough, sneeze, or laughs, that can be indicative of a coordination problem. And so walking is a way to kind of keep those muscles activated, because if you're avoiding movement, again, you're not really utilizing those muscles, and they kind of just stay in the dark, for lack of a better term. So walking, again, is a way to keep those muscles activated. It coordinates your pelvic floor. It works the coordination of your pelvic floor and your core. And it's definitely something that should be a part of your program to stop leaking. All right, so the second C is confidence. And let's be honest, if you have ever leaked, raise your hand. Your confidence totally takes a hit. You are second guessing what you wear. You are second guessing if people know you have on a pad or a liner. Is it making a crunchy noise? Can you wear light colored clothes, thin colored clothes? You're using that information when you've had a leak. It kind of dictates how your day goes. And so you're going just in case. You're peeing every time before you get in the car, whether you have the urge or not, before doctor's appointments. You're trying to, quote unquote, keep your bladder empty, even though that does not stop the leaks. That's a sidebar. I actually have another YouTube video about why going just in case doesn't stop the leaks. And I'll put that link in the description. But back to the point, going just in case is just another way that we try to control the leaks that actually makes the leaks worse. And so again, when you've had that experience before, your confidence naturally will take a hit. And so when you're adding walking into your plan to stop the leaks, you're making small deposits into your mental and your physical well-being. One, as I mentioned before, walking just has many benefits on its own, but every step that you take without a leak is a step towards increased confidence. And so when you're making this a part of your plan, then your body and your mind starts to see okay, I can walk 5 minutes without any leaks. Then you can extend that. Okay, I can walk 10 minutes. Okay, now I'm on the treadmill walking uphill and I'm dry, and so as you start to progress, you make those small deposits in your confidence so that your fear of leakage is not dictating and really feeding the continued leakage. Again, so walking super important, and it's something that can help to slowly build your confidence back up so that you are not fearful of leaving the house, second guessing what you're going to wear, and avoiding outings because of your fear of leakage. All right. The third and final C is chronic stress management. And y'all know I talk about this a lot. If you've watched any of my videos, I probably at some point have talked about stress management, because specifically for high achieving women who are taking care of multiple people, whether it be children, parents, other family members, women in general usually are taking on some type of caretaker role. So if you fall into that category, which is probably every single person watching this video, then you could probably use a little love in the stress management department. And so walking falls into that category because walking helps to, and is a mood booster, number one, especially if you're walking outdoors. That's going to create calmness to your nervous system, which helps your pelvic floor. And so if we're in this constant cycle of fight or flight, high stress, our pelvic floor is activated. Our pelvic floor, we carry that tension in our body, and your pelvic floor is part of your body. So if your pelvic floor, again, is tense and on and guarded, it's not going to function at its best. And so walking, again, when it's part of that active recovery plan, it helps you to release tension. Again, it helps to coordinate your pelvic floor, and it can be a part of chronic stress management. And if you don't have that, again, your pelvic floor is not going to function optimally. And you may even find that the higher the stress, the more frequent the leaks. And so we want walking to be a part of your way to release. And everyone, your chronic stress management plan could look different, but I highly suggest walking be a part of that, because that's also a time that you get to set aside some time for you. It's something that you can look forward to. It's a way to kind of debrief, your brain and kind of settle from the things that you have gone through throughout the day or the week. I know for me, walking is a huge part of my recovery. It's a part of how I stay active. Also, again, to coordinate my pelvic floor, but it is something that I truly do look forward to. I have one day a week where I definitely take a walk alone. And then I also have some walks that I incorporate with my kids, because it's a way for us to connect. So as you can see, it has a multitude of benefits, but it definitely, if you're someone who leaks, should be a part of your plan to stop the leaks. All right. So those are my 3 C's and why I'm a firm believer that walking should be a part of your plan to stop leakage. Even though it could be scary, it may seem like, what is this girl saying? I don't really understand why I would be moving more if the leaks happen when I move. Just think of it as that like hurdle that you just have to cross over. You can't stop leaks by avoiding motion. And if you're someone who is avoiding movement, how has that worked out for you? It may give you that like kind of temporary relief, but long term, there's so many things that you have to put in place when you haven't really addressed the root cause of the leakage. And so once we do that, again, walking should be a part of the plan to help to stop the leaks, because you got to walk to get to your car, you got to walk to get to your job, you got to walk around your house. And so we want to create long standing daily deposits and daily habits that can be a part of your lifestyle changes that are going to stop the leakage. It doesn't take only doing Kegels, only saving videos on Instagram. Like, those things are all great, but we really need a comprehensive approach to stop the leaks. And walking is a great starting point if you're just totally unsure of what you should be doing. If any of this resonates with you and you're like, I need to dig a little deeper, please feel free to click the link in the description box, or you can apply for us to work one-on-one together. That is where we can get to know each other to see if we are a great fit to work together, because having that one-on-one support is a game changer. And if you're someone who is really frustrated with where you are and wants to stop the leaks, I highly encourage you to pursue that. As always, I enjoy my time with you all. Don't forget to share with a friend. If some of this resonated with you and you have a friend that you know needs to hear it, feel free to share. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.